Strain Damage family, welcome to another episode of the Strain Damage podcast. This is
Your brain on buds.
it's your brain on buds, Keith, hash, distillate, many different forms of cannabis that we can produce. And we have somebody that is a master cultivator of these multiple formats. From Blue Rock Farms, LEVAR EADY, owner and master cultivator.
Welcome, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Strain damage, I appreciate it. So, thank you guys for having me, and,
Yeah. What you been up to recently? You say you just cut down some plants.
Yeah, I just cut down a small tester tent where I'm just trying different genetics and seeing how those cultivars are going. What did we cut down in that tent? It was a meat pie cross. That cultivar was gifted to me by a good homie, Marvin, who got it from Sandbox Grower, which is a local grower in New Mexico.
Hey, shout out Sandbox Grower. He grew some marshmallow OG for Sandia Botanicals back in the day, bro. That had me hooked on anything crossed with marshmallow OG. You know what I mean? So shout out Sandbox Grower. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, so that's where I got the genetics from, and I crossed that with Monkey Fire, which is a strain from Elevate. So we're gonna see what that produces. It looks very nice. It has a nice color to it, nice frost to it. It is quite dense. That cross had little nugs. It reminded me more of like a cookies lineage, where it's like small, dense nugs.
Right.
And then we also did a Monkey Fire and Purple Punch cross, and that had really big nugs. In comparison, it still was dense. Didn't quite have the same color as the meat pie cross. That it was more purple. This one stayed more like a lime green.
Okay.
With a hint of purple on the tips.
So the meat pie cross, that would be like what, like meat breath and like grape pie or something?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't. I don't think on the package I had, it had the lineage of it.
Oh, okay.
It just said meat pie on that one. But I do want to shout out Sandbox one more time. Is another genetics that I got from Marvin as well. Is rum cake.
Oh shit.
I really love that rum cake, and I can't wait to cross it with some Purple Punch, and I also want to cross it with the Granddaddy Perp. Because that I think that rum mixed with that grape, I think is gonna give a nice
wine cake.
Yeah. So I'm
Sell
excited
that
about
shit
that.
in Napa, make millions. In case you don't want to drink, here's some wine flavored weed.
Yeah.
Call it Catalina wine mix.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that, you know what I mean?
Catalina wine mix.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. Honestly, Sandbox Grower is one of my favorite growers from here in New Mexico for sure. I've tried some of that apple rum cake from Harvest, I believe.
Okay.
I got from him for sure. That was some super fire.
I wonder if that's a mix of apple fritter and rum
Yeah,
cake.
it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I haven't tried that. I would imagine it had a.
And I think the apple fritter was like a lumpy's cut too.
Okay, gotcha.
For
Okay.
sure.
Woo, okay. Now that's what I'm excited about that room.
Yeah, dude, I would be too, for sure. So let's take it back a little bit.
Yeah. So you at this point you've got probably, in terms of growers that are vocal about like knowledge about the plant, you're definitely at that point. But how did this all start? So you're originally from the Bay Area, you said?
Well, I was originally born in Albuquerque.
Okay, born here.
I was born here, and I lived here all the way up until 7th grade. I went to Grant Middle. Well, first I went to Cherokee Elementary School, and then I went to Grant Middle School out here. And then from here, I moved to California, and basically been in California until I went to college. I was in the Bay Area. Union City is right next to Hayward.
Yeah.
Not far from Oakland. Kind of in the middle of Oakland and San Jose. We're right. Union City Hayward's kind of like in the middle of that section.
I used to live in Oakland, like right a few blocks away from the MacArthur BART.
Okay, yeah.
42nd and West, like pretty much right at the edge of Emeryville.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a small world. Like not a lot of people understand that BART life.
Yeah. No,
That's what you're
I rode it across to fucking Embarcadero when I was like working at this renewable energy company. This was years ago when I was still a scientist.
Oh.
And yeah, that shit. I initially lived in West Oakland.
Okay.
And like I lived there for about 3 months. And in the span of the 3 months, there were like 3 different drive-bys within a block of where I lived. The last one, I was like unlocking my door and I actually heard the gunshots. And so I crashed with my cousin in Berkeley for a month, and then I found that place by MacArthur BART.
Gotcha.
But yeah, fun time. So then you came back here for school?
No, I went to the start of my cultivation journey really starts here in Albuquerque.
Okay.
I lived with my grandmother, and she always grew roses. So ever since I was a little kid, that's the first memory that I can think of me taking an interest in plants and taking an interest in growing. And I do remember like that passion spark from like seeing my grandmother take care of this rose bush, and it was in front of her apartment. And all the neighbors would always walk by and be like, "Oh wow, she has the prettiest roses. Wow, how's she keep them like this all year round?" Da 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 da. Like just, and then seeing the pride that my grandmother had about like, yeah, that's me. Like you know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I did that. Like like the and the care that she put into it, and then the care that the roses gave back to her. So that's what sparked it. And so I would just follow her around the garden.
Did your grandma ever drop game on the neighbors, or was she just like, oh, just a little?
They never really asked, to be honest with you. Like they just would admire.
They were just like,
yeah,
oh my god, this is amazing.
Like, because she's older, there's a lot of they would do on their walks. They would pass it, and on their way they just be like, oh wow, just admire how pretty they were. And so, like I said, I would just follow her in the garden, and I'll call her. I used to be like her garden shadow. So like everywhere she went, I was looking and just. Not really necessarily participating, but just looking and seeing, okay, she's doing this. Then I started helping, and then I started
observer.
Yeah, just like really just observing and seeing why she was doing the things that she's doing, and so it ties into why like when I introduce myself to people now, I say I'm a scientist, I'm a cultivator, and an organizer, because since that time I realized my mind works in that manner of like, why are these things happening? Why are you doing this? How is this affecting this? Like. In that scientific method of like breaking it all down and determining each component.
Like the feeding, the watering, and the timing with the lights.
Yeah, why is this different with you're doing with the cucumbers than you're doing with your roses, the eggplants versus the green beans, you know what I'm saying? These honeysuckles versus, the aloe vera, like, these inputs. And so I just started learning with her. And then that just kept on expanding until I started going, cannabis, using it, and then in college, I was growing it. One, because you're a broke college kid, I still want to smoke good.
Yeah.
And I went to college in Atlanta at Morehouse, and I always tell this story because it's the first time like my real experience with cannabis was in high school in the Bay Area, and the weed that we smoked then was just Granddaddy Perk. So everything was it was just perk. Oh, we getting the weed. Go get the perk.
That was the era of perk.
People call it grapes.
Yeah, grape perk, but mostly like us and like literally like in Oakland, in the Oakland, Hayward, San Leandro, Union City, Fremont, like those areas, we just literally it was just perk.
Yeah.
Like, and so when I went to college, like I was like in Atlanta they don't have that.
Yeah.
So they had brickweed, and that was the first time I've ever seen like mids, some lows, some like brickweed, and I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "This is weed." I was like, "No." I was like, "It's not purple."
No, I've smoked weed.
I was like, "It's not purple." I was like, because for me, like
it looks like a corner.
that's all. Like I knew. That's all I knew with weed. It was always purple. So like that's how I associated like. It just like it really did click in my head, even though I had other stuff like Maui Wowie, and it was all the colors, but like just in my head I was like, if it's not purple, it's not good, you know what I mean? And so like it was a crazy experience, and I was like, I smoked it, the brickweed, and I was like, oh no. I was like, that's when I was like, no, I can't do this. I gotta grow my own or I gotta get it shipped. And I was like, getting it shipped's kind of hard, so let me just grow it myself. And that's when I really like devoted like growing outside of like just small things, but like to a capacity that can be feasible for more than just myself. Yeah. And so that's like the real beginning of like my, what I consider my cannabis cultivation, to the degree that I would say substantial. Like before then I was like doing little things here and there, but it wasn't like.
Well, which strains were you growing in college? Or do you remember?
Yeah, the very first strain that I grew was Dream Queen.
Nice.
The very first strain that I grew was Dream Queen. I got some seed sent over, and actually at that point it wasn't even called Dream Queen. It was a tester pack.
Okay.
That my friend somehow got through some friend that he knew of a friend that somehow had a connection to Subcool. And so that was part of that pack. And I was like, I just got lucky, and that was the first one I grew, and I just kept on. I stayed with that strain for a very long time. I did expand. I did have other strains that I was growing on the side, but it was like I would just kind of one and done those and just get them out. Even some of them. Not at that point. I really didn't even. I wasn't even in the mindset of testing it. It was just like somebody gave me some seeds. They were feminized. I'm gonna pop them. I know it's not gonna mess with anything else that I'm growing. But I really wanted to focus on. And I think the reason why I wanted to focus on that particular strain is a lot of my cultivation experience was tied to black cultivators. And one of the most famous one of all is George Washington Carver. And the amazing things that he did with the peanut, and the only way that I determined that he was able to make those vast amount of discoveries with the peanut is by working with that peanut exclusively for a long period of time. And so that's what I tell a lot of young cultivators now is like, I'm not telling you to add variety and keep growing other things, especially if you have the space. But if you know something and that really resonates with you as the cultivator, stick with that cultivar for a long period of time, because you're going to be able to really push that cultivar and get things out of it that 1, 2, 3, 4 runs is not going to. You're not going to be able to really determine.
Experience the full vastness of it. Yeah.
And that's going to take several runs to really get that full vastness. Experimenting, trying different nutrient loads, trying different trimming and low stress, high stress training processes, because every cultivar, when we really break it down, is very unique. Some, like we talked about just earlier about with Girl Scout cookies, a lot of them, the reason why we love them so much is because they're so packed with flavor and density. But with that, you sacrifice yield. With other ones, you gain yield, but you sacrifice some frostiness, some trichome density, and sometimes some terpene profiles. And some you can get a mixture of both. So it's like really determining that, but you can't find that out until you really experiment in the long term. That's like my little soapbox.
No, that's good. At least like it's basically the way you would approach a scientific experiment, right? You have some control, right? So in this case, the cultivar is the control, and then you're adjusting all of these factors you listed.
Different variables, yeah.
And that's why pheno hunting is important. You know what I mean? We had a cut of some Black Sugar Rose OG, and it was a critical mass across the black dominant. And it was just so fire. It smelled like nail polish remover and like rose petals.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But like it was like one of the strongest indicas that I've ever smoked, and we grew it. You know what I mean? And I was amazed by it. But then like I noticed as you kept getting more and more cuts of it and growing different ones, you're just like, this batch is way more crazier, way more red, or way more frosty, or way more with this. You know what I mean?
Because you can dial in things, and like we're at the very tip of how you can really dial in growing even indoor, outdoor, regardless, because you're seeing it in the lights that they're changing the ability for you to change the spectrum. That isn't having an effect on the planet, because it depends on what the spectrum was and the place that breed was acclimatized to. So, like right now we're changing. We're just keeping that variable the same, but we're just changing the nutrient load, the medium, time, all those other factors. Think about when we can get to the level of exacting the spectrum to that specific cultivar, exacting the medium to match and optimizing all of those inputs.
And doing the full time too. You know what I mean? Like not just rushing the process because you're like, oh,
You gotta get it through.
this dispensary needs 2 pounds tomorrow. It's like, well, they're gonna have to wait 2 weeks because we want to grow right, cure it right, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people need to like really think about that too, and I'm glad that you brought that up because that's a good point that people don't do in a lot of dispensaries. You know, they just let's get it out there, and then honestly, there's no taste to it sometimes. Like it looks nice, it looks frosty, but then you break it up, it's too crumbly, it's too dusty, and
Yeah.
it has no taste. And like the whole time you're smoking a blunt, you're sucking down all the dust. And spend half the time spitting it out. You know what I mean? Like I like when it's like sticky and it just rolls with the roll. You know what I mean? Like instead of having like, oh shit, I might poke it with like a dense nug or something. You know what I mean? And break it because it's too hard and bust the paper. You know?
No, for real.
So I think a lot of these people really need to focus on that, and I'm glad that you did bring that up. So sorry, I just have to say that.
No, that's all good. Like, but that's what brings me up is on my podcast, Free the Plant, Free the People. I mean, yeah, Free the Plant, Free the People podcast. There was an episode which we haven't released yet, but we will release soon. It's where I did a blunt rolling class on rolling backwards,
Oh, sick.
and I would like. You roll a very good backwood as well, bro. Like,
Thank you.
and the reason why I know that is because the person that taught me, like, he's a back rolling like champ. Like, the way he rolls, and he showed me how to use the bag to help you roll it.
I've seen videos of that. And my brother's done it a couple times. He rolls better backwards than me, actually.
So like,
Shout out Cameron, but like he's done that with the bag before, and you just
twist it up, and it rolls it up. But like, we show that on there, but. One of the things that we talked about on there is the thing that he brought up to my attention that I never knew about. Specifically, I guess this is a Bay Area thing. Is what the things that you're bringing up. He's like, first of all, backwoods are made to you're supposed to put at least about an eighth in there.
Yeah, at least.
At least an eighth, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one.
Because you can fit like a quarter in there.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, really. But the minimum is an eighth, right? 2, it has to be properly cured, properly dried, because, and what he showed me, that's how I knew, like, he would roll it, and he would unroll the backwood, and the weed stayed right exactly in the place that it did. If you touched it just a little bit, it would just crumble a little bit.
Like kinetic sand
almost,
yeah.
So, but that's what he's saying, is like, that's telling you that it's dry enough that if you push on it, it will drop. But it's not too wet, also, that it's gonna hold too hard. Yeah. So that allows you to get that ability, but it's moist enough and it has the proper differential of moisture to dryness that it will hold when you unroll it. And that's like, so that's the thing, and the stickiness of it is the proper dryness of it, and that's like what he taught me in that aspect. And he was like, so if you're gonna use a backwood, he's like, these are the conditions in which you should be using it in to optimize the quality of the backwood.
Eighth or more, shit. We threw your meat pie in there. We threw some of your hash rosin that you brought and some keef. So this shit's getting me lit, honestly. But yeah, dude, kudos to you on that meat pie, bro. I could taste that shit. That shit's fire as fuck.
Appreciate it. And like I said, this isn't the best one. This next one that's curing right now, because this was a run before that.
Yeah.
It's already looking better. It's smelling better in the drying process.
Oh,
I already can tell.
Shit.
That's why I said, like, just keep on improving on it. But, like,
and I
understand having variety, too, though.
Yeah, I like that you're doing a different strain, too. Like, a lot of people are, like remember, like, the cakes and the lemon cherry gelatos and just gelato in general or whatever was a big
Runts?
like runts was a big wave, you know what I mean? But, like, I like to see nowadays when people just take random strains that are really good, cross them together and come up with something totally new, like the meat pie, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't heard of that in Albuquerque ever, you know? So that's cool.
No, I appreciate it.
And props for that, bro.
Yeah. And we just popped some, I got some jelly donut that I popped. I got some apple bubba, which is apple fritters mixed with bubble gum. What else did I pop? Shit. I heard it actually, but Damn, that's the main ones that I can remember that I'm really. The jelly donut, I've seen it before, I've tasted it, but I haven't personally grown it.
I've heard of it. I think Harvest is growing it now too. What are the strains on it?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a Humboldt seed.
Okay, yeah.
It's from Humboldt seeds.
So Atlanta. So you started growing when you were in college in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And Atlanta is pretty much at sea level, and here we have a higher elevation than even Denver.
Yeah.
Has that factored into approaching the cultivation process differently?
It's factored in as in what I'm expecting out of the results. It hasn't factored in as into changing inputs because you can't change the elevation, so
Right.
you just gotta accept it. But what I have noticed is a higher range of cannabinoids in response to not so much it affecting the indoor, but the outdoor because of the elevation of being closer to the sun. So getting different spectrums. Or at least that's what my hypothesis is the result, and based on the research that's been available, that's the indication.
Yeah, elevation is something I'm generally interested in as like how it affects the human body, how it even affects your response to cannabis. So like I've noticed for me, like up until moving to New Mexico, I've pretty much spent most of my life at like sea level or like I don't know 300 feet above. Yeah, and then like moving here, like I noticed immediately, like you need to drink more water. Like yes. in terms of your body gets dehydrated, air is thinner, right, and replenishing oxygen. So I've like.
But here you also have the lack of humidity though too.
That is true.
Into that aspect of it. So that's why I say I can't necessarily attribute some of those things to the plants as a result of that because you have to factor in the humidity. But in my indoor, I'm not seeing.
Which in indoor you can control.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not seeing in my indoor, I'm not seeing any change as a result of just the necessary elevation. With my outdoor, I am seeing an increase in the cannabinoids and specific certain ones, which is going to be definitely beneficial once there's more data on these specific cannabinoids, because then we can specifically isolate for that. For
sure. With Free the Plant, Free the People, and you said you've talked to like younger cultivators. Have you thought about setting up like any type of educational program or resources for cultivators? Yeah. So part of Blue Rock Farms, which is our it's a 5-acre farm that I have in Berlin that is specifically for CBD cultivation. I do have a partnership with another company up north that does the cannabis side. But for Blue Rock Farm, and when we do expand to other states, we do plan on being a multi-state operator. One of the things we did incorporate and that we do want to expand upon is we do have an educational program. We have an educational program that's on our Patreon that has 3 different tiers. The first 2 tiers are for people that are online or out of the state. The third tier is for people specifically in New Mexico. We'll teach you how to grow from seed all the way to cure. With that, we include 5 seeds of our own, so that at the time that we pop the seeds, you pop the seeds. We show you how to pop the seeds in a way that we're going to guarantee successful germination rate. Because my germination rate for my company and for both of the companies that I work with is a 98% germination rate. Because we've locked that down, we have the SOPs in place to solidify, again, approaching it with the scientific method to ensure reproducibility. So we teach them that, we give them the 5 seeds. We don't, tell you to pop all 5 seeds, but if you want to, hey, because in New Mexico, if you're an adult older than 21, you have the ability to grow 6 plants in your home if you're, as long as your residence allows you to. So that's why we give you 5. It keeps you under the limit. Because we don't know if you're some on your own, but we're not promoting anything illegal.
Then we, like I said, each week we have an hour class where usually it goes to an hour and a half, to be honest with you, because of how many questions people tend to have. Where we teach you each step to get you all the way to the point of harvesting and then all the way to curing. And then at the end of the class, or at the end of the 16 weeks, you get a NFT that's is a certification.
Which blockchain?
I'm sorry?
Which blockchain is it on?
Ethereum.
Okay.
So that it will it serves as two things. One, it serves as just a certification that you completed the class, and for any of our affiliate companies, like we do have an affiliate company that is a staffing company, that serves as you now can work for that staffing company or for my business, especially when we span multi-state and we need.
Okay, so you're also creating a sort of pool for employment as well. To like basically not only teach them but also connect them with career opportunities. The same way like some tech boot camp or something
exactly.
like that would work. At least the good ones in those, like they actually connect you with big tech companies that you can kind of go and like have this like intro role where you grow for a few years. So that's really cool.
We do eventually want to get it to the point where we want to expand on it and provide other classes like manufacturing, formulation, and pair that with the business side of it, teaching you how to write a business plan, teaching you how to make financial projections, teaching you how to look at data to determine trends and how to help guide your business based on not just intuition, but based on actual data and where credible information. So those are some of the other areas we want to, and then we want to be able to honestly invest in Black, brown, and women, and BIPOC and women entrepreneurs, so that we can increase that number in the space. Because for us, that's one of our metrics for success. For any company that I work with or any company that I partner with, they cannot inhibit that. And our goal is the more Black, brown, BIPOC, women, people we can get as entrepreneurs in this space. And it doesn't just have to be cultivation, it can be manufacturing or ancillary businesses, but more entrepreneurs in this industry. That is our number one key for success. Our number two key for success, of course, is a high quality product. And then our number three is, of course, being profitable and sustainable. But we believe if we do all those other things, we'll be profitable and sustainable. But we want to invest. The main thing I wanted to say is that we want to invest, eventually be able to invest capital into that demographic. And then pair it with those other things if they need it. If they already have those things, then they'll just need the capital, great. But if they need those other things, because I tell a lot of young cultivators is, just because you've grown so many plants at your house or in a garage or even in a warehouse, but you haven't gone through compliance in the actual industry, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because that is, capital and compliance are the number one and number two things that inhibits Black and brown people from making it in this space. So, you might
stay compliant, yo.
If you might know how to grow a plant at home, but at home you're not getting it tested. You don't have people walking through to make sure your building is safe and compliant. There's so many other factors. You're not reporting taxes.
The worst.
Damn, Wesley.
So, but yeah. Again, I'm just my little soapbox. But
no, this podcast is designed for soapbox. I mean,
that's what I'm passionate about. So
we're in. I mean, the industry in New Mexico, right? This is the pivotal moment that is occurring right now. That has occurred elsewhere, where MSOs kind of swoop in like vultures, or at least the bigger ones, right? The True Leaf variant and whatnot, right? And like smaller players, specifically a lot of BIPOC owned businesses are kind of getting pushed out of the market. And our theory at Strain Damage is basically, to kind of use the information age to equip them with the same level of sophistication as the bigger players in the market. Things like marketing, advertising, and we're taking an approach to it that's based off of authentic storytelling that is also digestible in the way people consume social media content. And that, I think, is the key for small businesses to stay alive in this type of market.
I think it's a mixture of that, but it's also a mixture of small businesses, specifically minority owned, because look at the data.
For sure.
When it comes to venture capital, minorities get the least. First of all, white men get the most. White women get the second most. And then it's like Asian men, Asian women, so on and so on. But then the least, the population that gets the least out of that venture capital money is black women. So minorities are getting the least of that money, and we know that the cannabis industry, the barrier for entry is capital. It takes a lot of capital just because with the license, you got to get the building, you got to get the space, you got to get the build out, you got to get the certifications before you can get the license.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money that has to be wrapped up before you even get to the point where you can even get the license to say you can even start producing something or selling something.
And if they say no, you're just like, oh.
All that money has been wasted.
Yeah.
So like, it's harder first if you have the money, you got to spend it. If you don't have the money, you have to convince somebody to give you money on no guarantee that you're going to get the license. Like that's going to be the hardest for minorities. One. So yes, when they get into the space, they're going to need marketing and things like that nature. But the thing that we need to think about is one, each state, each city needs to have social equity, and it needs to have people that have been affected by the war on crime, the war on drugs, the most, to get an opportunity to get into the space. One of those ways they can do that is by giving, if you're arrested or you have a conviction, first get it expunged. Then, if you want to get into this space, they should get a free license. They should not have to pay for a license, and they shouldn't have to wait on a building. They should just get a license. Because then they can take that license and then go to investors and say, guess what, I have the license. Help me get the building, help me and pay for the build out. Now, that investor has an incentive like, well, shit, he has a license already, or she has a license already. If I get them this space, that's the last piece that they need to get at least getting going. And if they don't get it going, you can work out deals on the contract so that there's ways that it can get paid back to the investor in other ways. Yada, yada, yada.
That's genius for sure.
You know what I'm saying? But that's one way that you can get instantly people that, one, have been, because the way I look at it is, those people that got arrested for that, they paid the license fee by being in jail, by being locked up, by having that offense.
Yeah.
That's their payment.
Yeah.
If you can move weight in the streets, you should get a free license.
So now, those people that are getting those licenses, yes, you need, but it's on them then to go to programs like the ones that I'm trying to develop.
And it would be beneficial too, because like the people with the license would be able to shed more knowledge to the investor who's investing in a company like cannabis that they have minor knowledge of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It seems like it'd be a really good cycle.
It would be a good cycle, and with that, there would have to be a component where those people that are getting the licenses are also getting a compliance officer, because again, they're not going to know the compliance aspects of it.
Yeah.
So they need somebody that's either going to either break it down to them, so they don't have to have the compliance officer for the entire time, but let's say for the first year, that's part of it, and that's where some of the taxes that are getting given to the government pays for that compliance officers to be with these people for a year, so that they can stay within compliance and teach them the way, so that after their year, it's on them. We taught you the way, now it's on you.
That's what I like about Unplugged, because that's basically what they do. You know what I mean? They go in and they help and they make sure that everyone's guided along the way and all the check marks are checked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The boxes are checked. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, but to me, it shouldn't be. I mean, it's good what Unplug is doing.
So, in terms of what's next for Blue Rock Farms, y'all have set up these educational programs for cultivators. Eventually, you want to take it into more of the accelerator, incubator kind of model. What's next in terms for like local expansion?
Local expansion is really just trying to find organizations like New Mexico Plug and working with them to create that ecosystem of Black, Brown, BIPOC, and women into the cannabis space, and create that ecosystem so that regardless of what happens with these big players and once recreation goes or adult use goes nationwide, that regardless of what happens in that aspect, the ecosystem is built, and so it will be able to thrive within itself and by itself, so that again those companies can last and create generational wealth for themselves and their families, and then keep that legacy going on.
That's dope.
That's really the main. That's like I said, that's the main focus for us. Because at the end of the day, like I'm confident in my abilities and what I know, and the fact that when you said master cultivator, I don't really like that term because.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't like it is because to be a master of something, that means you have complete understanding of it in its totality, and I don't have that understanding of any cultivar. Dream Queen is the cultivar I know the best, but I still don't feel like I mastered it. So for me, it just means I'm always on the quest to learn more about this plant and how it can be used and how it can be grown. So I never will ever feel like I'm ever a master of it because I'm never going to know everything about it. So that's just my own personal thing, but I don't take offense from like anything like that. Yeah. But I do believe I am knowledgeable about the plant. I do believe I am in a tier where not a lot of people are because of the thirst of knowledge that I have for it and how much I dedicate to learning more about it every day. Scientifically, like reading white papers, reading research that's being done on it, and expanding on my college degree on it of regenerative farming and expanding that aspect of it. So, yeah. Again, I appreciate you guys, having me on here and let me talk about my company and the plant I love. So.
Oh yeah. So if somebody wants to smoke something from Blue Rock Farms, where can they pick that up?
Unfortunately, Blue Rock Farms, the CBD side, we only sell to manufacturers. We only do B2B, and the manufacturers that we currently have constantly buy us out, so we are never we never have anything left over. To be honest with you, on that side. On the partnership that I have with the other company, we're still in the middle of contract agreements, so I can't really.